everyone, and welcome back to another episode of World Explorers. I'm joined with Isaac, as always, our topic bringer.
I am depressed.
I know why you're depressed. I'm not going to ask you why, because then you'll try to steer this podcast in a direction when you're not allowed to. So, instead, I'm going to ask you for a new prompt. We're moving on. We're going to move to a new prompt and start creating another world which we get to explore. Okay?
A world in the clouds.
Oh. So
a world where it's like the full, not necessarily in the clouds, could be, but I was thinking like maybe the entire world is pretty much composed of clouds.
kind
and
of like
people
Jupiter,
live.
but not as stormy. Jupiter, but not as stormy.
I mean, I was thinking more like all those like drawings you might see of an interpretation of heaven where it's all land of clouds, but stormy Jupiter, that could work too.
I mean, that could be fun, living in clouds, but it's a storm world, so it's very stormy. I don't know how that would work. That also sounds kind of mildly terrifying.
I don't know, because I was thinking about the clouds being like the ground you walk on, and maybe it could be like opened up and there's this abyss below you. You step wrong and you fall down in the abyss. But maybe people have wings. Like, we're basically creating the interpretation of heaven. So let's make it different and put a twist on it, and let's say that the land is divided in half, and on one half of this sky place or whatever, we have the land of the sun, and the other we have the land of the moon, the day and the night, half and half. This is not moon, just so you know. It may be slightly inspired by it, but
Or, I mean, I can, maybe instead of doing the classic, like, day and night thing, we have something of a place which is calm, and then, or sunny, and then a place that's always, like, raining. So you have an area that's dedicated to, I don't know, or we could have people traveling on specific types of clouds. So there's a city that lives on a storm cloud. I don't know how this works. I know science-wise this would not work, but we're going to throw science out the window today.
It's fantasy. We can do what we want.
Yeah. So you could have a city that lives on a storm cloud. You could have a city that maybe does a changing cloud that changes shape, and so the city has to adapt to that. You could have a city that's just a basic rain cloud. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call clouds basic. That's mean. I don't know. You could have like the long clouds, or you could have a giant city that's, the clouds that are shapes, and then the clouds just travel along the planet that's all clouds, and the cities can pass each other, and every now and then you get visits from different cities.
Cirrus clouds have ice crystals in them.
Ooh, we could have snowy clouds.
That too. I was mostly thinking of like sparkly clouds, because ice crystals.
Sparkly clouds. That sounds cold. I guess coats.
I don't know how they have ice crystals in them without the ice, falling to the earth, but they do.
That's cool. I'm sure it has something to do with density more than anything else.
Science!
There's a science. This might be a good time to note that neither of us are scientists or trained to science. I'm an English major, not a scientist. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can move on. Okay, so I guess first thing first. How do they walk on the clouds? How is
magic?
That? Okay.
I was assuming like it's just you step on it and it's like ground almost.
Okay, so it's just the way the clouds are.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was you just walk on the clouds and you don't fall through, and then but the clouds can be opened up. Like, if you were to try and have the little kid that's trying to dig to China, dig a hole in the backyard, he had better not be digging directly below his feet.
Oh, okay. So they can shape the clouds. So the clouds, I guess when you put pressure on it, it's kind of becomes solid, but at the same time you can move it and push things.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ground that we have. It's like you can move the dirt around, but and if you step on it, you're not going to fall through the loose dirt.
Yeah. I like that. That sounds fun. It sounds exciting. All right, so I'm wondering. I know we're thinking about like rain clouds and snow clouds and stuff. Can they rain up as well? Like, would you have the rain coming from the ground?
Ooh, that's
That sounds
interesting.
fun.
Okay, so let's say that it can rain upward. Where would it go?
Um, that's a good point. I don't know. Do
Does it
they?
become like are there clouds above them as well as below them? Like
And
this
then they
entire
just
world is like made
transfer
of
water.
clouds.
Oh, and then water just transfers and jumps from cloud to cloud, and then there's a top cloud where it never rains or snows because it doesn't can't go any higher. And then there's a bottom cloud where it never goes below them; it only ever goes up. And then there's clouds where it does both because they're in the middle.
What if this world is like multiple like there's multiple layers to it. Like it's not just one flat base of
Yeah,
cloud and then if you dig below it there's an abyss, but it's like there's an island of cloud or whatever, or maybe there's a main one on the bottom, and then above that there's a smaller platform, and then you shift a little bit over to the left and there's another one over there, and
yeah,
it's kind of
but
like a bunch of floating islands
there is
with
an
clouds.
end. Eventually, you go high enough, and there's no more clouds above you, and eventually you go low enough. That's the scary
Well,
one.
that's
Those are
where
the
the
scary
cirrus clouds are. That's where all the crystal clouds are,
The
because
highest point?
those are the highest clouds in the sky. We're basing this off of science. We're smart.
Yeah, and then I guess the lower clouds would be the most. I'm not sure if we'd even have people living there because of the fear of if you fall off the lowest cloud, you're done. There's nowhere else to go down. You just fall, and then I guess eventually you're out of the atmosphere and you're dead. I
I
assume.
guess so, but can these people fly?
I don't know. Do we want to make them fly?
I don't know. I was debating because on one hand, it's like we make them fly, and that's how they get around from platform to platform. Another way that we could do it is they ride clouds from platform to platform.
Oh, like they
And this
can
is a weird
manipulate clouds?
example, but what?
Like they have control over clouds?
Maybe, or at least maybe certain clouds. This is a weird example, but something like those, I think they're called cloud carts from Care Bears.
Ooh, there's a throwback to my childhood where I watched one episode of Care Bears, said this is stupid at age 4, and never watched another.
But do you know? I don't know if that's what they're called. I think they're called cloud carts or
I
cloud
watched
cars.
one episode at 4 and was like, this is
But
not the
they
show.
drive around in cars made of clouds, and the cars can fly.
And that's why I said it wasn't for me, because
Yeah, I was
I
thinking,
vote
like-
against cloud cars, but I vote for being able to use clouds for transportation.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like it would be more like a small platform that you stand on that could act like almost like an elevator. Or,
Or
like a
skateboard.
hoverboard or
Yeah,
hovercraft.
that's it. Yeah, hoverboard. Cloud
Or like one of those hovering or flying platforms or whatever. Not a speeder, like out of Star Wars, but they have those platforms you just sort of
Yeah.
stand on and you fly over Coruscant.
Yeah, so how do they control these little cloud vehicles?
I'm gonna say with a saddle and a bit.
Wait, are we saying there are some clouds that are alive, like animals?
No.
Do we
I
want,
was just
do we
trying to go
want
some
cloud
way to
animals?
control them, and my mind went to horseback.
But do we want cloud animals? Do we want
Maybe.
clouds? Would this
I mean, we totally could.
I mean, we've already established there are different types of clouds, so there could be clouds that aren't alive and clouds that are alive.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah, I think we could do that.
I'm thinking of Treasure Planet, and they have that little morph guy. I'm thinking of them, but cloudier.
Yeah, I like that. So it's like,
Yeah?
so like the clouds are not a specific animal, but they're rather a creature that can change form.
Yeah, but maybe they're not actually clouds, but they look a lot like clouds, and they live among the clouds. And that might be their disguise type thing. You know, when there's predators and you disguise yourself into things, these animals can disguise themselves as clouds to keep themselves from. We're like, oh, don't eat those, that's land. It'll taste like rock. And they just fly past it, and then they just pop back into their theme and like, aha, it was actually a tasty snack, but you missed me, and then they zoom away.
Yeah, I was thinking something like a small, weird creature, maybe like a blob creature or something, like
Creatures.
like from Treasure Planet. But it's like it's pulls all the clouds that are around it in the surrounding area around its body, and then it creates some sort of new cloud form that is not its actual self, but it can shape it to however it wants. It's not part of its body, it's just clouds around its body.
You're saying these creatures could have the ability to manipulate the clouds that our peoples are living on?
Yes, it's like one day you wake up and suddenly there's a hole in your wall because one of these creatures decided to use it as a head for its horse disguise.
Oh, so they can add it. So they have to take. Oh, so they have like a core that can then take from clouds to make something else. So they could be giant if they want to, or they could. But then they have to
maybe
shed
there's like a limit to how big they can go. Like they can only handle controlling so much cloud.
Yeah,
it's kind of like us trying to hold a bunch of items in our arms. We can only hold so much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but you do have these little creatures, in which case some of them might be seen as pests.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I could see like a little kid bringing one home, being like, "Can we keep it?" As it destroys the house.
Yeah, I guess
and then there's
some
other
that are
times,
well-trained, and then there's some that aren't. They're like dogs, but shape-shifting clouds.
Yeah, and then some people see them more like caterpillars that destroy their garden.
So let's talk a bit about what they look like, because in my eyes, I'm imagining like they have a mouth and eyes and like a face, but do they?
Maybe. I mean, I was just imagining the blob creature, but now that you've like pulled up the question, do they have eyes, mouth, and face? What if they're more like a smoke, like a tiny black puff of smoke, and they don't have eyes or mouth or anything, but when they pull the clouds around them, they actually form an eye and the eyes and mouths, and they use that to like see with, and they and maybe they take the forms of other creatures that they have seen. Like if it's seen a horse, it'll be able to recognize that and transform into a horse or a cloud horse. If it sees a human, it might do that, but that's probably the more boring form that it could take.
I don't know. It's interesting that you say that they can form into human shape. Can they talk? I'm assuming not.
I didn't
know.
see them as talking creatures.
I feel like another thing is they can't change color, so they're still cloud form. They always look like clouds.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're able to talk, and they look like clouds at all times. So you can tell when
they look like whatever cloud they're taking from.
Oh, okay. So they could look like a storm cloud, or like
assuming they take from a storm cloud.
That's cool.
Maybe they take on like not just like the looks, but all sorts of different characteristics from the various clouds. Like you take it from a storm cloud, you're able to create lightning. If they take it from if they take it from a cumulus cloud, well, they're just a white puffy thing. If they take it from a cirrus cloud, they're maybe coated in crystal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. And then I guess different societies in this world would have like different versions of the cloud creatures, and some of them would probably be seen in different worlds. They might be seen as different types of things. Like one type, the cumulus ones, they're like, oh, they're cute, they're fun pets. But the ones that live in the storm, they're like, no, those things are dangerous. You stay 5,000 feet away from them before they strike you with lightning for looking at them funny. And then the crystal one, maybe they're seen as something higher because they're so decorative or something. So like societies could view them differently.
It seemed like a goldfish for royalty.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get one of the cloud pets from those type of clouds, they're the Pomeranian. It's probably a better example because we're viewing them as dog-like, so they're the Pomeranian.
Now, of course, it's like when you put something like this into the world, the immediate question that people are going to have is, how can I use this thing to my advantage? So the immediate thing that came to my mind is how people would use it as a weapon. Can it be tamed? And then can it harness the ability of lightning and be used as a weapon? That's always where my mind goes, because I know that's always where people are naturally going to go with any sort of new element or ability that you throw into a fantasy world. People are going to ask, can it be used as a weapon?
Well, I guess we need to establish its intelligence level then. Is something that we need to figure out. And then also how it interacts with humans, if it likes interacting with humans, or if all of them hate it, or if there are specific, since we're thinking that they at different societies have different versions of them, well, maybe different types have a different relationships with different humans then, and then in which case which ones would be harder to tame and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that it might depend on what and how they're treated by humans somewhat, and where they grew up. If these are even humans anymore, I don't know if these are humans living in the clouds or not. Let's call them human. Let's just call them humans.
We'll establish them later. We're on Cloud Pets.
Yeah. So I imagine these guys, something like where they is seen as a threatening thing that you want to avoid that can shoot you in the face with lightning. They're going to be feared, and all these cloud creatures are going to learn is that they are basically on top of the food chain.
Yeah.
I don't imagine they need. It's like they would be very intelligent because they have such raw power.
Anything?
They don't need to be smart, and they aren't interacting with much in the way with other creatures or other humans even to like gain more intelligence, because we like gain intelligence from interacting with others and with other creatures.
Yeah.
See the behaviors of others. Like if you see somebody playing, it's kind of like where if you see somebody playing a game and you see a strategy they use, you just became more intelligent by hanging out with that person and seeing their strategy.
Or they give you a different insight on something, so you're all looking at a picture and you notice one thing, and then that person notices another thing, and then you swap information and you both gained type of deal. But yeah, I guess you're right. These guys.
And maybe because humans are avoiding them so much, they don't learn English. Like they don't know how to. They aren't able to speak it, but maybe they can learn the words and pick up words, kind of like dogs can. And so, in another area where they're seeing as more like pests, where "shoo, get off my lawn," people aren't really avoiding them, but they are trying to. But they are talking to them quite a bit when they say, "Get off my lawn! Stop eating my walls."
Or I feel like those versions, at least the white fluffy happy ones, would be, I feel like they'd be pets. And so one society we have them as pets, one we have them as seen as more of a regal thing, and another society they're seen as a terrifying monster menace thing. Which is kind of interesting to have the same creature be three very different things to different people. So I guess, how about we take a break from these guys and talk about the humans living here and how they're doing it? Because then we can develop the cloud creatures better based on.
Okay, so where do these people get their food from? I imagine like maybe there's some kind of a garden that people are able to create. I don't know what kind of garden you would have in clouds.
Oh yeah, I guess we need a food source or something to keep them alive. I mean, maybe these people have developed the ability to eat sunlight, like they don't need food. This might be a world where eating things isn't necessary, because I don't think the cloud things eat anything, and maybe these guys don't either.
Yeah, maybe they more run off of, I don't know, a lightning charge, or maybe there's some other sort of new element that we could introduce that they need to sustain their lives that is incorporated into the cloud world.
Okay, I do find the crystal clouds very interesting. Maybe we'll do something with like those crystallized things. Like I know in our world they're just snow, pretty much.
Yeah.
But in this world they could be something slightly different. They could have a more life-gaining aspect to them, which creates another interesting aspect, especially considering that for one, they'd only show up in the upper layer, are the only ones that have access to it, and two, since all the clouds are moving, certain clouds might find themselves in a situation where they don't have access to those, or that they have to journey long to get this food source for their families or something.
I don't think it's really a food source, but life source.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you needed to eat it to survive, it's kind of just a food source.
I was thinking more you just stab it into your heart and you're rejuvenated.
That's a bit darker, but
Uh, I don't
maybe
know.
we can compromise and just go like they inject it somehow, and not make it so painful sounding. I don't like the idea that these. I don't think this is a society where you have to have pain to survive.
Yeah, I don't know.
In that
Maybe it's
sense,
more as you hold it, I don't
dissolves
know. Maybe
maybe
it's like
in
a
some.
contact thing where, like, yeah, it dissolves, maybe absorbs into your skin. I don't know.
In which case, maybe we need to establish how much they need to survive. I'm assuming not terribly much, because they need because of the way the society's set up, people need to be able to go long gaps without them. Just
Yeah,
as
so
clouds pass by type thing.
I guess it's like normally everybody might be getting like one handful of crystal or something a day. It's like your morning routine. Rather than wake up and get coffee, you get the crystal and then you're ready to go for the day. But you could go multiple days without it if you really wanted to. You'd just be exhausted, and then if you go too long without it, you die.
Yeah, which this idea again creates this with the especially when you add it onto the layered cloud systems creates a very interesting society in the sense that yeah, the higher up you are is literally the higher in society you are because you are closer to your main source of survival, and then you have the people in the lower levels who have, for one, they have to worry about falling off, which is dangerous. For two, I guess maybe that's the storm cloud area. Because we actually that kind of has to be the storm cloud area because lightning striking down into other lower levels isn't a good thing. So I guess the bottom layers would have to be the lightning area. So that area is farthest away from your food source. You have the chances of falling off into the void of nothingness. Plus, you have the scary cloud creatures that shoot lightning at you because that's where they're gaining their source is the cloud.
Well, what if all of these different locations, different platforms with different types of clouds and whatever are able to move?
I feel like
What
they
if
move, but not up and down.
maybe? What if they were able to? But hold on. What if they were able to move up and down, and the higher you were, whoever had the higher level was like higher in society, but uh, as a general area or location, town or whatever became like a lower quality place of living, it somehow lowered.
So people could improve their status in a way? So if you
Yeah.
treated the cloud better, it stopped being a storm cloud and eventually it became a cumulus and then eventually it reaches higher that's actually really interesting. That brings motivation to people to improve their lives or and that's also a very interesting story you have of someone who might have been in the higher cloud society but they're watching their cloud slowly fade from that. You get a lot of interesting stories coming from it, either from someone starting low trying to get up, or someone who's up trying to prevent their society from going lower, or someone in the middle who's just struggling trying to decide where they want to go with life, if they want to, if what they want, I guess, you know, especially I guess if society is in your hands, literally.
Yeah, and you could make it so like let's say you were in the lower levels, but you wanted that higher level that's like way up there where all the crystals are. Then you got to ask what's to stop you from just flying up there and taking it, pushing someone out of the house. Well, if you go up there and push them out of the house, suddenly your society, I would call that, has been lowered. Like your state of living is no longer very high, and it's just going to go down,
So
and no
now we
one
have a
wins.
moral system. The clouds work on morals.
Maybe. I don't know. That was just an idea. Um,
I'm not sure how well that would work. Just in
I don't
this,
know either. That's
because
why
then you
it was
can't
just an
really
idea.
have
I'm just
villains,
spitballing
and
ideas.
then it's sad, and then your story's boring, because evil people could never succeed, and then there's no stakes in that really.
So we gotta figure out what makes these different societies ascend and descend, and what's to keep people from just flying up on their cloud cars to like get to the crystal location.
I'm still thinking it's almost better they don't ascend. Like they're stuck in their height. Just because, for one thing, that's easier for people in the upper world to keep people in the lower, because no one's coming up sneaking behind them. And also, the people in the lower don't have access to the crystals as much. They're lucky to survive. They're lucky to get like a handful a week, every like a month almost. How long can they survive without crystals?
Okay, yeah. So, okay, so forget the ascending up and down thing. Maybe they just move side to side and back and forth. And so maybe it's like if a character were to try to get from point A to point B on a different level, it might be difficult because they keep moving.
Yeah. Which is one of the challenges, especially when your life source is only at the up and you have to find your way up there, and it creates some interesting tensions, and especially on lower level clouds and even on middle level clouds, which find themselves drifting away from their source. Or it might make the importance of the creatures even more so, because if you have a good relationship with the cloud creatures, they can manipulate the clouds to stay close to the higher clouds.
Does this place have different like rulers or kings, governors, or whatever on the different cloud levels, or is there like one top ruler that's at the very top, maybe in a crystal castle? Is there are there no rulers?
I'm thinking there's kind of how I was picturing it was you have the main. I'm studying China history, so we're gonna do it as I think it's the Zhang dynasty. I pronounced that wrong. I don't know how it's pronounced, but in this society they have the emperor who rules over all of them, but under him are the kingdoms with their kings. So they have their kings, and then they have their peoples that they rule, that they're under. But the kings go directly to the emperor. So this was not a good system. It did not work out for China at all, really. It caused a lot of civil wars. It was a bad idea, but I feel like that is the society this place would have, where they have an emperor-like person living on the top thing where the life source is, because obviously if you own the life source, you own the world. And then below him on different levels you have clouds who have king rulers who keep contact with the emperor and do trade deals, and it's their job to make sure that their specific cloud gets access to the crystals type thing. And then of course the lower down you get, the less kings you have and stuff, and the more it's free for all and not nice.
Maybe the bottom level is so free for all that the only people in power there are like criminal gangs, and like basically their version of like a mafia. And maybe the way that they would get crystals is through possibly people going up and stealing them and bringing them back down.
I feel like
maybe there's somebody who trains these cloud creatures. If there's somebody who trains these cloud creatures to go up, obtain a crystal form from the top, and then bring it back down.
I think that's a really good story, actually. Just that right there, having the criminal underworld, and maybe for the longest time they weren't the biggest threat because they didn't know how. But now they've become a threat because they've befriended the cloud creatures, and the cloud creatures.
Yeah, it's like suddenly they have the lightning, and they can steal the crystals from other people. They can destroy homes. They can.
And if they get enough cloud creatures on their side, they can move their cloud up. That's how you can move a cloud. The cloud creatures could do it if you have enough of them. You have to have quite a few because big lands and stuff. But if you have
so maybe it's like they can only. So maybe the people cannot manipulate clouds, at least not in like ascending and descending, maybe moving from side to side. But because these guys can't fly, they cannot manipulate clouds to make them go upward. But if you can somehow attach one of these guys, I keep going back to the horse thing. But like you were to attach, let's go with a bit and saddle to these guys. You could ride them up into the higher levels, or you could have them pull a cloud carriage thing, like a small cloud platform, and get yourself up there.
I mean, I was thinking more of the fact they can manipulate a certain amount of cloud space, so you pretty much send them underneath your cloud, and you position them the right distance. You'd have to have a strong relationship with a bunch of them. That's why it's very hard and why it's very scary. But then they can either push that cloud up, or they could pull the cloud down. That could be a crazy threat. Like, you could have a full-blown war scene, which sounds fun to describe, of a gang with their lightning cloud things coming up to try to drag the main palace, which has the crystals around the crystal cloud, the life source cloud, and try to drag it down to their underworld area, so that way they take control of it. You've got a great story there already.
Okay, so something that was going through my mind that we need to address is, do they have clothing? And if so, where do they get it?
Yeah, the people's societies are very underdeveloped. I think we focused a lot on story and cloud animals, and yeah, let's go back to the people's. I don't know. Are there other animals?
I don't know. I was wondering about that because I was thinking to myself, are there any other animals, or is it just these cloud things? And maybe if it is just these cloud creatures, perhaps the only animal they take the form of is horses, because that's. I mean, a horse made out of cloud sounds pretty cool to me.
But maybe they do, but we need a reason for them to take other forms, like fish and stuff like that, because they've seen it. So maybe we do have other animals that are more familiar to our world, I guess. I mean, we have humans, which are extremely familiar to our world. But...
Ooh. What if there is like a land, like an Earth below the cloud people's land, but no humans live there. There are other creatures that live there, but no humans live there,
I
or
mean,
even
of course, humans wouldn't
go
live there.
there.
It's under the storm area. That would make sense, have a solid ground there, I guess. But yeah, they wouldn't live there because it's directly under the storm clouds. The storm clouds is the bottom layer. You wouldn't want to live in an area that's constantly being struck by lightning and rain and, I don't know, maybe tornadoes, and it's not a pleasant place to...
It's even worse than the lowest levels you can get to. It's like you're going lower than the lowest level at that point.
There's a worse than. There's no man's land. And maybe the clouds, I guess, wouldn't mind traveling there. They're clouds. They could care less. So, yeah, and maybe that's how... I guess at some point... people would start wondering how the clouds are taking these forms, and that we've got another storyline here, and that just watching these clouds take on these weird animal forms, they're curious, like, where are they getting these forms from? And they find out they're coming down, and now you have people who want to explore the lightning terrifying hell that is below the bottom layer. And that could just be a fun story in itself, exploring the bottom layer of a cloud world.
What if these the cloud creatures are taking more than just animal forms from the Earth, but they're also occasionally bringing back strange items like wood and other plants and maybe rocks?
Yeah,
and people are like, what are these weird items that they keep on bringing back for some reason? It's like a dog bringing a stick to the house.
I was thinking more like a crow, because I feel like they're more crow.
Yeah, like crow.
If you train a crow enough, if you have crows or ravens, and you feed them constantly, eventually they tend to start bringing you stuff back as thank yous. And those things can be valuable. There's a lot of stories out there of people getting extremely valuable things off crows, because to their mind they're like, this was pretty and shiny and you've been feeding me and you're nice, so here. And they drop you like a diamond necklace they found randomly. That has happened before. So I feel like it's almost a little bit more like that, where the crows aren't, where the clouds aren't your complete full pet, but you've been nice to them, so they return the favor by bringing you weird things from the below the below.
Yeah. But you gotta wonder, what are you giving these cloud creatures that to make them want to bring you stuff, or to make them want to serve you to get you crystals or move you up levels.
I mean, they might just crave physical attention.
Yeah, they might just be like a dog. It's like you pet the dog, dog likes you.
I mean, maybe even the storm clouds, they crave it too, but as a human, you're more scared of them, and therefore they're kind of like the pit bulls, comparing them all to different dogs, but they're kind of like the pit bulls where they're really scary looking, and so therefore you want to avoid them, but the truth is, once you actually, pit bulls can be some of the sweetest dogs out there once you past that fear level and actually take nice care and are kind to the dog. A pit bull becomes one of the sweetest dogs. So it's I'd imagine it's a lot like that they crave attention for whatever reason. They just like interaction with humans, and maybe they just don't like interaction with themselves. How are these creatures created? Do they reproduce?
I don't know.
I don't think they do.
Where do they come from?
I feel like there's a set amount, and they've always existed, and it's the same ones.
Maybe somehow, if they've like always existed, the same ones, and they keep gaining intelligence over the years, eventually they're going to they're going to become smarter than the humans.
Yeah, and also then like why are some of them still loving when they've been hurt, and why are all of them very loving? And yeah, no, you're right. Bad ideas. They need to.
I'm gonna say there's a magic lake underneath the clouds on the earth where maybe there's like a tornado spiraling it, and it's small black smoke souls or whatever swirl up the tornado and then into the clouds, and they take form.
So it's our solution to this is they're formed on Below the Below, which is what I'm calling this. It's its official name, and
that is a cool name.
It's
Below
by
the Below.
Yeah, Below the Below, and it's just magic, and accept it. These people, people on this planet,
it might not even be explained. Like, it might just be a mysterious thing where nobody knows where they come from. They just know they come somewhere from the surface.
Yeah, if the people don't know, then I don't think they... And I also feel like they return to it. So eventually, this pet you love, I feel like they probably have about the same life as a human or longer. I don't think it's shorter. But eventually, when they're ready to go and they feel it, they head back. One day you wake up and your little pet cloud is gone.
It just traveled down to the surface to disappear forever.
Yeah, and that's just that. You've never seen. Or maybe that's another motivation for someone notices their cloud doing that and they follow. Or something.
Yeah, it's like
there's lots of ways we can get people down there. There's lots of reasons for them to want to go below the below. Or honestly, this is a multi-book series. Because say you have someone from the middle level, the first book is them just getting to the below and surviving that. And then once they step on the below, you have another another book.
What if once they reach the below, they try ascending to the top via Cloud Horse, but then are struck down to the below by some tyrannical force.
Are we saying?
And then that's where they go to the surface.
I don't know. Are you saying? I guess there has to be some way to keep the below people from trying to ascend.
What if it's like they try to ascend, and then it's like, no, how dare you come up here and try and steal our crystals? Strike you down to the below. Let's open up a hole in the below, and then, or maybe there's already one there, and then strike you down below the below.
But how would they have the power to do that?
What?
How do they have the power to do that? What could?
I'm gonna say a club.
A club.
Like the cloud creatures, which we need to come up with a name for.
We really do.
They keep bringing back strange items from the surface or from below the below. They bring these strange items like rocks and tree limbs from below the below, and people could make weapons out of them, and people can make clothing out of some of these things. What happens when they decide to bring a fish up there? People will say, what? the heck is this thing?
I want to be dead.
Okay, so I looked up
Raindrop.
cloud, and it says similar and opposite words. Noun. Threat, menace,
What?
shadow,
What?
specter, blight, gloom, darkness, chill, pall, trouble, problem, and worry.
Did these people never cloud gaze as children?
Yeah, I just went to the source, and it's got a lot of the same names. Although one of them, one of the synonyms is Puff, and now I think that if you were to have one of these creatures and he was a cute, friendly guy, you would need to name him Puff.
Okay, we'd have a character, but that's a character. That's not like the name of the creature. But I agree
Yeah,
that
it's the
some
name of the
kid would have
character.
named one of them Puff.
Like, one of them would need to be made Puff.
Yeah, how about we just call the cloud Puff and just move on? It's not the cloud people. Someone else come up with the name. I failed. Someone come up, maybe tweet it to me. Name suggestions if you want to for the cloud creatures, but we're just gonna call them the Puffs for now.
Okay, so
What last thing do we wanna develop in the last like 10 minutes? I get to actually have.
we could go a little more in depth as to how the Puffs appear.
I like the idea that they just do. I like the idea
Okay.
that the
It's
people don't know.
mysterious.
So the humans don't know, therefore we don't know. But
Yeah.
that's also something for someone who wants to take this idea and like write a book and story about it, and they want to know. They can take their human on a trip to go know, and that's a fun story idea for you. So have fun.
Okay,
writing it.
so I'm not entirely convinced that they can get clothing just from these guys
Oh yeah,
bringing
this all
them.
started
stuff.
with the desire to get them clothing.
What?
I guess they don't have clothing. Because I guess their buildings and stuff, all that's just made out of clouds. Do they sleep? Are they just superhuman beings?
I was thinking they
What
sleep
do they
on
do with their
clouds.
lives? I mean, we
I don't
have
know. It
people,
must be pretty boring.
We
I think we
have-
gotta have something more than just
yeah.
clouds and crystals up there.
we have the people who are in legal positions. Like we have an emperor, and then we have kings, and we have people under them. But what are the other people? And we even have the crime lords. We know what they're up to. That makes sense. But they need to be doing something. We gotta have the clouds have to have something on them that they have to do. We need economy.
Well, we've got the crystal things, but other than that,
We need more. We need more. Maybe.
is there some kind of farmland? Like, do they grow crops for some reason? Do they still need to eat?
Why would they? We've run into a huge problem here, and I don't know what the solution. Cause yeah, no one wants to play with a world where the people don't do anything. But I like the idea that they gotta be doing something. I'm just trying to think what are the reasons that these people exist? Cause everything exists for a reason, and these people need to, as well.
What is the meaning of life?
For us it's one thing, and I'm assuming for the cloud people it's different, but that's our job to figure it out. I don't know, I keep wanting to like go into human terms and stuff, but what if their purpose isn't like a physical purpose? What if theirs is more of a mental thing or something?
Maybe. I don't know.
That really bugs me. I just want to go back to the Puffs. They were simpler. The Puffs.
They were so cool too.
They have purposes and stuff, but the humans need purposes as well. I mean, we have some. It's just why I don't know. It's
Maybe
frustrating.
the humans have no purpose, but the Puffs do, and so the story focuses on one of the Puffs, and the Puff is the main character.
It's just I can't imagine humans or of any sort. Like I like the idea of a Puff being a main character and we follow a Puff's life instead. That sounds fun too. But at the same time, the Puffs are very closely connected to humans. So the humans can't not be doing nothing. I
other than
I mean, there's basically
like
cloud shaping, like they're building buildings out of clouds and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I
I
guess
imagine like maybe they have jobs. Like
they
maybe one of
gotta
the
have
jobs is
jobs.
make a cloud house
I guess
or in
maybe
construction.
harvesting the crystals might be a bit more intensive than we think it is.
Maybe like it's not just simply pluck it from the cloud. Maybe they're very delicate in a way where it's like the
I mean,
cloud
you can't
forms.
touch them.
But if you were to, yeah, I was thinking like maybe it's like if you were to try and just like rip any old crystal out, the entire thing starts to collapse,
Well, maybe
and
not the entire cloud. Well,
maybe it's
maybe
a
the
safety
crystal
hazard.
like dissolve. It's probably more like there's a special process you have to do, so you can't just harvest a crystal. But like, I don't think the entire cloud collapses because it'd be so easy to destroy them in that case.
Maybe not the whole cloud, but like a large portion of it is like collapses, like falls out on you. So you have to be very careful on how you remove them. And this could be one of the ways that the people on the lower levels get crystals is they fall from the people who are harvesting them who make a mistake. And then they fall,
Yeah.
they hit the below, and then people are like, "Oh, look, free crystal, gimme,
Oh,
gimme."
that's an interesting. Yeah, the idea that you have to also be careful of falling crystals. Just every
And
now and
maybe it's
then.
like a safety hazard if a bunch of them fall in your face. You don't want those things getting in your eye. You just want them to dissolve into your skin and absorb into your arms so that they can make you stronger.
Okay, so
Like
we have
drinking
people who are
milk.
cloud shaping, and we have people harvesting the crystals and stuff, and then we have the overlords and stuff. It doesn't seem
Yeah,
like
and I
much,
imagine
but
the puffs.
what if this is a smaller society than we're thinking? What if this isn't like that big?
I mean, I wasn't thinking of it being massive,
I wasn't
but like
either, but what if it's even smaller than we're thinking?
it might be.
Like,
And what
I'm
if like I was
talking
thinking
a
like maybe the
thousand
puffs.
people. You could know everyone's name if you wanted to. Small.
Yeah, and I was thinking like the puffs would have like an advantage in harvesting these crystals, being that they can easily
Absorb it.
manipulate the clouds around them, grab them, and then bring them down to whoever uh
Clouds are important.
to whoever wants them, and then you can maybe pluck them safely from the cloud creatures or the puffs.
So is there? I guess to hold one of these crystals without using it, you would just wrap it in cloud. Like you would scoop up, kind of like you'd scoop up snow. You'd scoop up a handful of cloud and then wrap it around and make sure you don't touch it. Because you need to store some. You don't want to waste all your supply.
Yeah.
points. And I'm assuming the main big cloud is also creating them still. So like the crystals are actively growing. So that could be another thing. Maybe there's different processes to caring for the crystals. And maybe even that they need something from the other two types of clouds. So they
Maybe.
need something from that lower level cloud to like grow crystals. And then
Lightning.
I'm not sure how that would work. How you'd get lightning from the lowest level to the upper level. We do have to make it possible to gather it. And
Someone
I would
descends with their crystal puff, and then they
Yeah, but
say,
here's the
"I'm
thing, I
here to
feel
take some
like-
lightning."
I feel like that the humans need to be doing more, because that would just be giving the puff another job. And the puffs have enough jobs. I love the puffs.
They play a very
okay?
big role in this world.
They do. The puffs are important. We love the puffs. We stand by the puffs. This world would literally crumble without them. But the humans need something else to do. And I feel like maybe gathering something from the different other two islands might be what they do. But
Maybe rain. They need rain to form these crystals.
maybe.
Especially if we are basing them off of ice crystals, you need water, so they need rain. Then to enchant them with the energy you need to sustain life, you need the lightning. But raw lightning would kill you, so you need to infuse it into the crystals. And they can only form in a higher altitude,
Yeah.
and maybe it's like just like at the level of the castle. And so you have like these gardens of crystals, basically, or maybe you've got them naturally growing wild everywhere in the higher levels.
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't know what else you would need from the lower levels to make the crystals.
Well, that might just be something we let the viewers decide, because we've run out of time. I say at this point, I'm kind of content with where we left the world. I think we just ended up focusing on puffs, and I'm okay with that because the puffs are awesome. But we'll let someone else take it
They're
over.
a very cool creature.
Yeah. We'll let other people take it over and see what they can do with it if they want to. I
Do
don't
we,
know
I,
what to leave
we
it.
do definitely need a better name for them than Puffs, I think. Puffs, it's like...
Seriously, if
it's
you're
like,
listening...
oh, look out! It's a Thunder Puff!
Oh my god.
He's got lightning! Duck for cover and hide from the puff!
Look, if anyone listening has a cool name suggestion, my Twitter is linked to the page, our main home podcast page. Just send me a tweet with it. I'd love to see it. It would make my day. Honestly, it would. But yeah, I've got nothing but puffs. So, but that's all we've got time for. So I'm gonna say goodbye and see you guys next week when we explore a brand new world. Bye.
Goodbye, all.